looking, diving deep. If you wanna know why we battle, then say it like it is and look to your bones. Back to the ones we descend from memory deep who flood their homes. If you want my life in your life, then get your body back to the river. If you want your hope to be met, then walk each step as a life giver. We are all wave and particle, spinning round more space than molecule. How can I battle with you if you're made of the same as me? All around me is inside me too, then I'd better start looking, diving deep. If you call to make a battle, then say it like it is and lead with your bones. Hide behind all the digital cage, your name and drain your soul. If you want more life in your life, then get your body back to the forest. If you want to give what you can, then get your hands back to the soil. Welcome to the Gene Key 22. So we are entering into the 22nd Gene Key, Grace Under Pressure. So we just finished up with the Swan Totem. So if you wanted to check that out, I kind of covered the recent conjunction between the Sun and Saturn and the 22-6, inviting us to step into emotional maturity and what that looks like. So this gene key is a little bit different. The way the 55 was different, and there's lots of different sections in it. The 22nd gene key is like that too, and it's longer than the other ones. So we are just going to get started here. And Richard Rudd actually does an introduction to the 22nd gene key, so we can all walk in and be amazed together. So Grace Under Pressure, we have the Shadow of Dishonour, the Gift of Graciousness, and the Siddhi of Grace. So we will go through the Shadow of Dishonour and everything that the 22 packs going into that, okay? The programming partner is the 47th gene key, which is a Virgo placement. As we know, the 22nd gene key is Pisces. And so the opposite of the zodiac wheel, its partner is going to be Virgo. They're going to balance each other. So the codon ring is the ring of divinity, which includes the 22, 36, 37, and the 63. The physiology is the solar plexus or cranial ganglia, and the amino acid is proline. The introduction to the 22nd gene key. The sweetness of suffering. The 64 gene keys represent the seed of a brand new synthesis coming into the world. It is important to clarify here that it is not the knowledge of the gene keys themselves that is new, but their revelation together as a complete matrix of the human evolutionary program. Each gene key is a portal to an encyclopedia of timeless knowledge and wisdom. Deep contemplation and meditation on the gene keys will open up a new world to you. There is no question that cannot be answered by them, since all the answers are inside you. Furthermore, as you enter the higher frequencies of the gene keys, the questions themselves begin to drop away, and the higher states reveal themselves from within your very own DNA. At this stage in your evolution, the knowledge itself ceases to hold any real interest, and you see it as nothing more than a bridge that you can now discard. This is reflected in the Buddha's own timeless words. My teaching is a raft whereon men may reach the far shore. The sad fact is that so many mistake their raft for the shore. The 22nd gene key is special within the overall matrix of the 64 gene keys, containing a highly specific teaching and a powerful transmission. The transmission of this consciousness alone can alter the way in which your DNA operates. In many ways, the 22nd gene key is a sister transmission to the 55 gene key, or 55th gene key, and between the two of them, a great mystery lies hidden. Just as the 55th gene key describes the process of awakening as a genetic evolutionary process rising up within your body, the 22nd gene key describes the process of awakening as the direct intervention of divinity coming down into your body. So we have the 55 going out and the 22 coming in. Involution and evolution, right? Thus, it is through these two gene keys that the forces of evolution and involution finally come together. As you enter the field of the 22nd gene key, you are involving yourself in a magical process of invocation in which you directly invite a higher presence into your life. In this sense, the 22nd gene key needs to be approached in a prayerful and reverent manner and in the spirit of nakedness. There is a great deal of information synthesized here. Let it descend into your DNA, and rather than attempting to grasp it with your mind, simply appreciate what an awesome transmission it holds. The subject of the 22nd gene key is the true meaning of suffering. As you begin to contemplate the suffering in your own life, you will perhaps come to see what an incredible blessing it holds. This simple and sweet realization can and will transform your life. Welcome to the embrace of the Great Mother. The 22nd shadow, Dishonour, the Akashic Ocean. As we have already heard, the 22nd gene key is very special. There is no getting around this statement. Written into the evolutionary script are certain anomalies and divine cosmic surprises. In this respect, there is no other gene key to rival the 22nd. It is what makes the mythic drama of life so compelling. All great drama has but one pervasive universal theme, that of redemption. Whether or not a drama ends with redemption, it is always there as a longing inside our human hearts. Whenever we watch or hear a film story, if there is no redemption at the end, our hearts feel cheated. Our minds may appreciate the art, but without a sense of atonement, there is the sense that a great truth has been misrepresented. The 22nd gene key is about the truth of redemption. To those of a strong intellectual bias, it will inevitably seem fantastic or romantic since it concerns the direct intervention of the divine in the ordinary world. The world that most of us see is not all that exists. We mostly live within a very defined closed-circuit parameters. Human beings generally have no notion of the great cosmic laws that exist behind the world of form. One of the greatest of these is the law of divine memory. This law states that all thoughts, feelings, and acts are recorded everywhere within the body of the universe. Science now shows that we live in a vast information field of subatomic particles, some of which are so tiny that they actually pass through matter. Neutrinos, yeah? This ocean of consciousness exists in many dimensions, and it responds to thoughts, acts, feelings, words, and even intentions. It is a vast quantum field that acts like a great memory bank, holding and recording every impression ever made. In the language of the ancients, it is often referred to as the Akashic Record. The 22nd gene key is deeply connected to this law of divine memory. It is like a massive receiving dish that responds to frequencies, sounds, and vibrations that it hears, and it hears everything. everything. Like a cosmic alien wind harp, reception is determined by the way in which the strings are tuned. In the case of the 22nd shadow, the strings of your DNA are twisted out of harmony, and your behavior and experience in the world is similarly misshapen. This is the shadow of dishonor. It only exists in the world because most human beings do not realize that all their acts are recorded. We do not realize that every act, thought, or feeling creates a ripple in the Akashic Ocean, and that each ripple must and will one day return to its point of origin. The 22nd shadow is one of the most powerful emotional shadow gene keys in the human genome. It is highly passionate and sexual with a huge emotional range, encompassing extreme highs of sweetness and extreme lows of violence. Because of its situation in the genome, it is directly or indirectly responsible for most of the relationship problems on our planet. However, before we journey and further into this profound gene key, it should be borne in mind that negative emotions in and of themselves are a natural part of the world in its current state. If they can be usefully transformed or sublimated into art, creativity, or service, their power is awesome. It is a matter of how much responsibility you can take for your own feelings. However, most people in the world today are utterly ruled by their emotions, and whenever you project negative emotional power at another being, you dishonor both yourself and the other person. So practicing that emotional maturity we talked about, right? Taking responsibility for your own emoting. Many so-called spiritual teachings suggest that you should subdue your negative emotional states in favor of sweeter, more virtuous frequencies. In fact, this is the bias of most of the great religions. But to subdue any state or feeling is to dishonor and distrust that feeling, which prevents acceptance. From the point of view of the 22nd gene key, every feeling, mood, or thought you have is put there directly by God for you to trust in it. Trusting this process is obviously not the same thing as acting it out, right? Trust is a powerful internal process that requires great courage. One of the tricks of the 22nd shadow is to con you into trying to change or fix your moods, rather than allowing them to simply pass through your system naturally. The fact is that you cannot reach higher state of consciousness without first passing through your own suffering. This is the true purpose of the Akashic field and the 22nd gene key. They invite you to receive your own slice of suffering. If you do not take responsibility for your own thoughts, words, and deeds, the Akashic field simply sends the same force back toward you again and again. This is the foundation of another of the great universal laws, the law of karma, which we will explore in more depth below. So the three pure ones. There's always three, isn't there? As we enter deeper into the transmission field of the 22nd gene key and its shadow frequency, we encounter three streams of teachings concerning the nature of suffering left by the three great world teachers or avatars. These three beings are actually one single being, which divided into three fractal aspects over the course of human evolution. Even though these were individual people or magi, the three magi or the three wise men, right? It is more helpful to see them as three fractal transmissions of the same truth. They each representing a truth. The first is Hermes Trismegistus, whose legacy dates back to the age of Atlantis, and whose name, meaning thrice great, directly reflects the triple nature of his transmission. Hermes goes by many names. Thoth, Merlin, and Fu-Si is to name a few. The teaching represented by this fractal is the teaching of alchemy or high magic. All true alchemy concerns the transmutation of suffering through alignment with the divine will. The second great teacher is Christ, whose fractal represents the transmutation of suffering through love and sacrifice. Finally, the third great teacher is the Buddha, whose fractal represents the transmutation of suffering through wisdom and compassion. Because all the 64 gene keys are influenced either directly or indirectly by the 22nd gene key, these three great fractals and their teachings form the essence of the gene keys revelation. The synthesis is made up of this great trinity of divine will, love, and wisdom. The Cosmic Mother. Beyond, behind, and between the great masculine trinity lays a fourth transcendent field of consciousness that is born from their interaction. This is the field of the divine cosmic mother, whose embrace encircles, protects, and contains all three of the great streams of the masculine avatar consciousness. Within humanity, the only direct portal to this great being is the 22nd gene key. The great cosmic mother holds the master key to all suffering and stands behind the teachings themselves. She is the triple mystery of the transmission, kind of like the triple goddess, yeah? Although she is beyond teachings, her way is that of grace through suffering. Those who enter deeply enough into the three great paths through suffering, the alchemical, the sacrificial, and the mindful, will eventually meet the great cosmic mother, since she represents the very spirit of grace that brings an end to human suffering. Contrary to the many depictions of the Holy Mother by religion, she is actually a highly ecstatic and sensuous field of energy. This is another way in which the 22nd shadow dishonors the true nature of the feminine, through denying humanity the natural delights of sexual pleasure. As suffering comes to an end through her grace, true pleasure will dawn. The mother is a field whose Shakti, or sexually liberated energy, actually devours your separate self as she does so. I'm going to do this sentence again. The mother is a field whose Shakti, or sexually liberated energy, actually devours your separate self, and as she does so, you experience the highest of divine ecstasies pouring through your body and aura. This is no staid grandmother figure, but a fully laden cosmic breast whose celestial milk will nourish the highest aspects of your being. Whoa. As we explore the 22nd Siddhi of Grace in more depth, we shall see how all-pervading in this field throughout creation. Once you come to realize that Hermes, Christ, and Buddha are in fact three aspects of the same Trinity, you will find that these three streams of teachings bring much clarity when fused together. Through Hermes and the Magi, the teachings of alchemy and transmutation came into the world. Buddha brought the teachings of karma and rebirth, and Christ brought the teachings of forgiveness and atonement. As these transmissions have traveled down the centuries, they have become so distorted and confused that they barely resemble the simplicity of their original transmission. Over the following pages, we will reunite these three great teachings and streams of wisdom, exploring the underlying fabric of the subtle worlds and processes that make up the human evolutionary journey. Right? No biggie, right? The Corpus Christi, the 7 sacred bodies of humanity. There have been many systems devoted to the understanding of spiritual or occult science, those subtle layers of reality beyond the 5 senses. The great Oriental and Indian systems left us reams of intuitive insight laid down over thousands of years of direct experience of the higher realms. Towards the end of the 19th century, much of this experience became accessible to the West, and many new streams of thinking converged. Theosophy and anthroposophy were born, and a new era of spiritual science came into being, leading into the modern New Age, where so many ideas and lineages from East and West, both mythical and scientific, collided and merged. It is an exciting but also a confusing time as a grand new synthesis emerges from the cosmic soup. One of the enduring signs of mysticism is the notion of the subtle bodies of the human aura. Depending on which system you follow, there are between 6 and 10 major subtle dimensions or planes upon which human beings function. These auric layers collectively make up what is known as the Corpus Christi, or body of Christ. Listed below are the 7 main layers of the human aura and their fundamental properties. Okay, if you're a note taker, you may want to write this one down. The 7 sacred bodies of humanity are 1, physical, 2, the astral, 3, mental, 4, causal, 5, buddhic, 6, atmic, 7, monadic. One, the physical body. The physical body forms the bedrock of incarnation. On the physical plane, the collective memory of humanity is stored in our DNA. The ultimate goal of human evolution is to merge the physical body completely with the monadic body, thus allowing the former to be assimilated back into its true essence. This corresponds to the 9th initiation known as glorification, which is discussed at the end of this gene key. The physical body has a subtle twin counterpart known as the etheric body, around which the science of true health is built. Over time, the physical body more closely reflects the state of your astral body and its emotions. 2. The astral body. The astral body is the layer of the human aura that collects, stores, and transmits all human emotion and desire, from the meanest to the loftiest. In the astral body, pleasure and pain are often reflected as vibrational frequencies, which effectively divide the astral plane into hell realms and heaven realms. The astral body is more active during sleep when it processes your daily urges through your dream life. As the next layer to the physical and etheric body, the astral body also has a huge effect on your health. After death, the astral body is directly confronted with the true nature of every single emotional impulse you had whilst alive in the physical body. Whoa, one more time. After death, the astral body is directly confronted with the true nature of every single emotional impulse you had whilst alive in the physical body. Wow. The mental body. My mental body is like, I can't even comprehend that. The mental body, number 3. The mental body exists at a higher frequency than your emotions and is constructed from your thinking life. The mental body is greatly influenced by the collective mental body of all humanity. This tends to pull our thinking down into the unfulfilled desires of the astral body. As your thinking turns to higher impulse, the mental body gradually disentangles itself from the astral body and takes on a greater power. The mental body can also be used by lower consciousness to repress the natural impulses of the astral body, which can also lead to health problems at all levels. Number 4, the causal body, and that's spelled C-A-U-S-A-L, if anyone is curious, because it sounds different than it looks. Sometimes dubbed the soul, the causal body directly corresponds to the physical body, but at a higher level. It stores the collected goodwill of the human soul as a memory signature written in light. Wow. It stores the collected goodwill of the human soul as a memory signature written in light. This finely tuned vehicle forms the storage hub for all the high-frequency thoughts, words, and deeds that we have initiated during our many journeys in incarnation. After death, the lower three bodies disintegrate, and only that which is refined and pure is drawn up and retained in the causal body. The causal body responds to higher visions and archetypes that lie beyond language, but that can still be conveyed through direct transmission to the lower three planes. As your causal body develops more lucidity, the higher bodies can use it as a means of directing higher and higher frequencies to the lower three bodies. In this respect, the causal body is a bridge between the lower and higher planes. I think that's my dog. The Buddhic body, number 5. The Buddhic body is the higher octave of the astral body. As such, it reveals the pure truth that humanity and all the earth planes are in fact one single organism. Once your awareness is fully anchored into the Buddhic body, the causal body dissolves and reincarnation in the normal sense is no longer necessary. It is through the Buddhic body that the human beings have access to the field of universal love and the higher ecstasies associated with enlightenment. It represents the third feminine realm of the Holy Trinity, that of divine activity. Number 6, the Atmic body. As the higher octave to the mental body, the Atmic body allows human beings to access the higher evolutions outside the process of physical incarnation. Whilst the Buddhic body retains its connection to humanity through its compassion, the Atmic body brings awareness to the cosmic field of Christ consciousness, directly merging your awareness with divine mind and heart, the second aspect of the Holy Trinity. It is through the Atmic body that the great avatar streams into enter into the world. It is also the realm of Siddhis, the many miraculous manifestations of the divine. The monadic body, number 7. Hardly a body in our normal sense of the word, the monad is the unbridled primal essence of divine consciousness itself. It enters the world of the form through the causal body, which is the veil it takes on in order to enter the lower worlds and corresponds to the first aspect of the Holy Trinity, divine will. The monadic body is present within every single atom on all planes, right down to the physical plane. However, until awareness has risen to the Atmic body, the monadic cannot be fully expressed. When it does express, it condenses the Atmic body and all the others along with it, revealing true divine essence as consciousness beyond understanding. At this stage, each of the lower three bodies, physical, astral, and mental, are absorbed into their higher frequency counterparts, the causal, Buddhic, and Atmic, thus revealing the true mystic nature of the Trinity as 3 in 1. Karma and reincarnation. This is so much, right? Yeah, it's a lot. So we are going to keep going a little bit further, and then we're going to separate into another one. So karma and reincarnation. The programming partner of the 22nd gene key is the 47th gene key, and there is much we can learn from this connection. The moon's in the 47 right now. The 47th gene key concerns the storage of world karma in human DNA. We have seen how the Akashic Ocean records all deeds through the 7 subtle bodies and how this physical storage takes place through DNA. It is here in the human genetic code that the world wound is to be found. The combined suffering and negative thoughts, deeds, and words of every human being since the beginning of time are wound up in the non-coding or junk DNA inside your body. Depending on the unique genetic imprinting of your vehicle, certain aspects of the collective karma of humanity are highlighted in your DNA, and these determine your personal karma and the essential script of your life process. All this genetic storage takes place through the 47th gene key. The 22nd gene key, on the other hand, concern those aspects of our subtle vehicles that survive death. It is vital at this point to realize these higher subtle bodies that are said to survive incarnation are really aspects of the Akashic Ocean itself. They are like memory slates that overlap each other at higher and higher levels of frequency. At the highest levels, all the layers dissolve to reveal a single field of consciousness. This is why reincarnation is only a relative truth. It is relative to the body in which consciousness happens to be localized. With this basic understanding, we can begin to understand one of the great keys to all human suffering: the inability to accept responsibility for our own thoughts, feelings, and actions. Life gives us precisely the imprinting we can handle, and if we dishonor ourselves or others, we actually increase our own suffering in the long run. The Bardo States. Many teachings exist from ancient cultures regarding the states of awareness that occur during and after the process of death. These states are often referred to as Bardo States. It is only when we combine the teachings of the Christ and the Buddha that this process becomes simple and clear. At the point of death, your various bodies separate. Your physical body obviously returns to the earth, but your astral and mental bodies, which contain all the feeling and thoughts from your current life, begin an alchemical process of separation and refinement. The negative low-frequency patterns are discarded, whilst the higher frequency patterns are retained and drawn up into the causal body. Because you no longer have a physical body, emotions in the bardos after death are experienced more intensely than anything we can possibly imagine. In fact, emotions and thoughts actually assume a life of their own, appearing as entities, angelic or demonic, whose frequencies either cause intense agony and terror or intense joy and ecstasy. This process in the Bardo States is one of pure redemption, in which the subtle aspects of your being meet the consequences of your actions, thoughts, and feelings while you were in form. Every aspect of your shadow consciousness is purged and cleansed. That sounds nice. Human intuition recalls enough of this process to integrate it into our various cultural and religious beliefs. However, most human thinking makes a fundamental error here between the concept of retribution and redemption. At the shadow consciousness, humans do not see the true operation of grace through Christ's teachings of forgiveness. We do indeed atone for our sins in the afterlife, but only in order that we can be given a clean slate before our causal body returns once again. Because there is no divine sense of linear time in the Bardo States, I feel like I live there, it can indeed seem that our hell is eternal, just as it can seem that our heaven is eternal. The 22nd gene key thus allows your causal body to become brighter and clearer from incarnation to incarnation as you learn from your own suffering. So I want to read that one more time. The 22nd gene key thus allows your causal body to become brighter and clearer from incarnation to incarnation as you learn from your own suffering, both in form and out of form. At the shadow frequency, this process teaches you to accept your slice of group karma and offers you the opportunity to transmute it. Because what else are we doing here, right? Just kidding. This is what the Christ consciousness really is. It lies inside every single human being. We are forgiven over and over again, and the deeper we accept this grace, the more powerful the impulse for goodness becomes when we are in form. Eventually, our causal body becomes so resplendent that higher consciousness reaches down through into the lower bodies, the mental, astral, and physical bodies, and begins to impact them powerfully. Our thoughts turn more to God, our emotions and desires become sacrificed for a higher cause, and eventually, even our physical body becomes radiant as the various slates layered over it become transparent. Now we have instant karma. In the light of the above, karma can perhaps be understood in a new and beautiful way. That's my favorite kind of way. Individual karma does not travel beyond a single lifetime, even though it does pass into the human collective. Every negative act is recorded for future processing in the Bardos, and it is stamped into the collective DNA of humanity where it must eventually be redressed. Our karma at this level is shared since humanity is really one entity. We're all doing the work together. We are. Contrary to certain popular beliefs, the conditions of your external physical life do not reflect your actions in past incarnations. The level of transparency of your causal body attracts the incarnative environment it needs to further its own evolution, whether those conditions are seen as good or bad. At the higher levels of transparency, the causal body will often take on greater suffering because there is a greater compassion manifesting through its vehicles. This evolutionary incarnative process follows a specific archetypal sequence known as the 9 initiations, which we will explore at the end of this gene key. Even though karma is purified in the after-death state, it can manifest during a single lifetime. The law of cause and effect holds true on the material plane too. However, the material plane is extremely dense, which means that we do not always see the results of our good or bad actions, thoughts, or words very quickly. Having said this, we are now living in a time towards the end of a great epoch. And at such times, natural laws are often seen to bend. The general collective consciousness of humanity has been gathering in the Akashic Ocean for millennia, and as such, it has effectively programmed the way in which that ocean functions. As our consciousness evolves more quickly, the turnaround for the law of divine memory is altering. In other words, karma is speeding up. Soon we will reach a point in evolution where redemption will manifest even on the physical plane. This is the epoch that is coming, the time of healing the sacred wound that causes human suffering. The last point ought to give us all something to think about regarding the way in which we handle our own emotions and thoughts. Soon, none of us will be able to hide the truth of our acts or feelings. In the not too distant future, the 22nd shadow will create almost instantaneous karma whenever someone behaves dishonorably. This will utterly change the way we see ourselves and the world around us. Justice is a universal law. However, human beings at lower frequencies too often misinterpret this beautiful law as retribution or revenge. Because of grace, evolution cannot travel backwards, and it is not possible for form to devolve. It is all a matter of how finely tuned are the strings of your DNA. If you tune them to the lower frequencies, not only will you prevent yourself from experiencing joyousness, but you will also add to the weight of human karma stored in our collective ancestral DNA. No, thank you, please. In this sense, all human beings are given the feeling of free will in order to experience the consequences of their own deeds. But the key point here is that we do not learn through punishment and retribution, as so many religions would have us believe. We learn through joyousness and fulfillment, which comes through the 22nd gift, the wonderful gift of graciousness. Repressive nature, proper. So the repressive nature of the shadow is proper. The 22nd shadow in its repressive phase gives rise to a deeply false sense of character. These people may appear outwardly very balanced, calm, and proper. They can often be extremely socially adept. Inwardly, however, their emotions are often seething. They can hide deep sexual lusts and often foster deep hatred and resentment. A good archetype of propriety is the Victorian age in Great Britain. On the surface, the general culture was one of politeness and control, when in fact it concealed an underworld of repressed passion, sexuality, and aggression. All the repressive shadows are rooted in the deep-seated fear. The fear of the 22nd shadow is the fear of losing control. We should remember that no shadow is in itself bad. It matters how we deal with it. If you have a repressive nature, you can use it positively to transform inward negativity rather than letting it stew and stew until it erupts. However, if there is no sense of virtue in these people, this shadow can conceal the most violent and explosive of natures. Like that really proper, uptight lady, and the one who just, is abusive at home, but like looks really good out in public. It's that sort of a thing. The reactive nature. Inappropriate. The reactive version of the 22nd shadow manifests as inappropriate or antisocial behavior. These people cannot control their emotional reactions. They often lead fairly disreputable but passionate lives, wearing their hearts on their sleeves. Their actions and behaviors are usually destructive, initially more towards others than themselves. Even in its shadow, this archetype has such creative power that these people can produce wonderful art or music, but so often their inability to handle their own passions and treat others with respect leaves their private lives in tatters. Above all, these people have an inability to listen, either to others or themselves. Thus, even when their intentions are good, they are doomed to be mistimed and misunderstood. Wow. Okay. So this was a long one today. We're at 44 minutes. So that was just really beautiful. And I really love the way that Richard Rudd goes on to explain and describe karma in such detail and with all the subtle bodies too. Because a lot of times when you look on the internet for that kind of information, it will just be either untrustworthy or unclear or not detailed or whatever the case may be. It just doesn't feel quite like you're getting the full essence of it. And so I really love reading that to you and to me. So we're going to go ahead and break here because it's a long one, and then we will come back with the gift and the Siddhi soon. So I will leave you off here with this Aaah Nerio, Lead With Your Bones song. It's so good. So thank you so much for being here with me. We will just fade out, and I hope to see you in the gift and the Siddhi. Have a wonderful day.